Our final presenter of this morning is Tammy Gebhardt. She currently works at the College of Nursing as a clinical instructor. She has a wide breadth of nursing experience, and most recently she was coming from Sherbrooke Community Centre, where she was the team manager in nursing practice, quality assurance, and infection prevention and control. Her education includes a master's degree. Welcome, Tammy.
Hi. So my presentation is on depression, and what I'm looking, it's quite broad because depression affects people in community, long-term care, acute care. So I wanted to start off with looking at the population, the older adults. So brand new news, I'm sure, to everyone that we have an aging population. 1 out of 7 people in Canada are senior citizens. And relating that to depression, not everyone's getting treatment and they're not being diagnosed because we actually have a significant portion of ageism as a barrier to care and compassion for our older adults. Part of that is our language and how we're seeing our older adults. We're being told in media that, oh, beware the gray tsunami. There's a plague affecting our healthcare system. Older adults are not beds. They are people, they are individuals. And our healthcare costs, they're only expected to be impacted by 1% per year by the aging population. We still have to make system changes because there's a shift in demand. But we have to stop talking this way about these people and validate who they are, because we're actually perpetuating components of depression. So, points to ponder. Self-esteem is affected by age-related disease, age-related changes, and self-esteem is affected by societal values and life experiences. This is why I felt it was so important to bring up ageism, because that's part of societal values, and we're constantly giving people a message of, you are a burden. And how can I actually then look for assistance if I'm seen as a burden? Why would I actually open up and be vulnerable and say I need help if I'm a burden? So self-esteem, self-concept, it's threatened by loss. Significant changes are happening in older adults. This is just part of our life process. We're always going in flux. So we need to look at maintaining self-worth and personal values. People are worthy. Healthy aging is the goal. We need to promote self-esteem in older adults. Depression attacks self-esteem. So depression it's not normal. It's not a normal part of aging. It's common. And we still continue to have a very strong stigma attached to depression or any type of mental illness. It's difficult for the majority of older adults to speak about depression because it's considered a weakness of character. So I think to my grandfather, who is no longer around, but he suffered from depression, but he was the patriarch of our family. And he never spoke about the vulnerability that he had. He wouldn't speak about having depression or the challenges that it affected. It affected his life in significant ways. I remember Christmas times where we didn't have Christmas because my grandfather was in a chair and he was just so sad. He did not have the energy. So talk about affecting self-esteem and your identity. Your depression does that. So it's important to recognize that depression is undertreated and it's not readily diagnosed. But there is good news because depression is easily detected and it is treatable. So what does it look like? Most of this is not new to people. We know what it looks like to be sad, Depression is a persistent sad, being anxious, having empty feelings, feelings of hopelessness and pessimism. Looking at older adults, life context plays an important role in recognizing depression. Widowhood. So there's a potential that someone who has been with their partner for 40, 50 years, all of a sudden they no longer have that partner, that consistent person in their life, the person who has been their support, their amazing things that they've done with them. Bereavement in older adults. Bereavement can be anything from losing another family member, a loved one who is very close, the last of your aunts and uncles. Your cousins are no longer around. So your ties to your connection to who you are slowly going from you. Your community of support, the people who you grew up with. You watch the obituaries because they're slowly dying. Bereavement is a real thing. It's happening all around the older adults, impacting them. Loss of function. As we age, we all start to have changes. So there's physical changes, mental changes. If a person has a loss of function, I think back to my dad who's on the farm, and the one year in his late 60s, he finally decided that, okay, I guess I can't change that dual wheel on the tractor tire by myself because I don't have the muscle mass to actually hold up the tire anymore. But you had to try. But accepting those losses, those are significant. Loss of independence. Loss of independence may be, I am no longer able to do the banking that I used to. Loss of, along with chronic disease, may be that I'm not able to go down those stairs anymore to do laundry, and I'm having to rely on someone else. So that reliance on other family members or having to call them, those are big impacts on a person's self-esteem and self-worth. So chronic health conditions, they play a big part in depression with all of the changes and trying to maintain around them. So depression is often triggered from situational factors. So impact. There's a difficulty in adapting to changes. They may be coming so fast and so frequently, there may be lack of support. So having a hard time adapting, that's a potential for someone to fall into a depression. Healthy aging is adapting to changes, while not necessarily accepting the changes that are occurring. So the impact of untreated depression complicates and increases the impact of any health condition, because if I no longer have the energy to make that meal that in the morning or even in the afternoon, I'm no longer getting the nutrition I need. I don't have the energy to get up and go outside for a walk. If I have diabetes and I have depression, there's a potential that, it's this balance back and forth where I can't take care of myself, I'm not maintaining, doing what I need to do with my condition. Depression too, there's a potential for increased pain. And we're not just talking physical pain, mental anguish. When a person has depression, there's a potential for decreasing their support networks because they don't have the energy to call up and say, hey, do you want to go out for coffee? Or someone's calling them and saying, can I come over? It's like, oh, I don't have the energy for you to come over. I have no interest in it. And also they tend to slow down and they're not wanting to put themselves out there to ask for help. And the big thing around depression when it's untreated is the risk of suicide. So again, symptoms, blue, sad feelings, they don't go away in a few days or a week. It's interfering with daily life, and it interferes with relationships. There are tools for assessing. So one of the old ones that still hangs around is the SIGI caps. Things to look for are, has sleep been disrupted? And this is significant sleep patterns. So this isn't just like one night. This is a few nights, weeks, going into almost a month. Like there's serious disruption. Interest is decreased. Person's feeling guilt or regret. Their energy is less than usual. Their concentration is poor. Their appetite is disturbed. Just lose their appetite. They're not interested in common things that would cause them to want to eat, like the cinnamon buns coming out of the oven. Just doesn't interest them. Psychomotor agitation, retardation, and then suicidal ideation, including a passive wish to die. And I'll just use the example of my 95-year-old uncle who does mention that, you know, why doesn't the Lord take me? It's my time. This isn't the passive wish to die, because he also doesn't have any willingness to act on that. He's waiting for his time. So the suicide check is an important thing to do after you've done the assessment and it's this person is matching all of these. Then ask them, talk to them, say, you know, I hear you're having a hard time right now. Have you had any thoughts of harming yourself? Do you have a plan? Have you ever tried to hurt yourself before? I've worked with nursing students who, their first time ever trying to talk to someone about suicide, and it's actually been a patient who is suicidal. They came to care because they were having those feelings and were acting possibly on them. And it's a hard thing for people to ask because they feel like they're violating them. And for some people, as soon as you ask them, it's a relief. I can actually talk about this instead of carry this burden, because it's validating their feelings. So really important to have that conversation. So with suicide, the next slide that I have is the warning signs, and it's another tool to check in with the person. So is there ideation? So they're saying that, yes, I want my life to end. Are they using substance? Substance use, there's a potential for a person to be more impulsive if they're using substances. Purposelessness, are they feeling like there is no purpose in their life? Is there anxiety or agitation? Are they feeling trapped? Hopeless, helplessness. Those are big things. So if you're dealing with someone, an older adult who is, like even in long-term care, we have people who have suicidal ideation. Are they withdrawn from their norm? They're no longer wanting to participate in activities that used to bring them joy. Is there anger? Are they being reckless? Are there mood changes? It's important to realize that suicide rates for older adults, they're significant. Men over the age of 80 have one of the highest suicide rates. It's 3 times higher than teenagers. So it's not a light thing. And when someone is like the action that they're taking for suicide, they're lethal means. They're not a simple thing. It's lethal means of hanging, overdose, or guns. So actions around for if someone is a high risk for suicide. it's referred to a mental health specialist. And then the rest of the comments in here, it all depends on where you're at, because I know we're also speaking to people that are all around the province. And when you're in rural setting, if you have someone who is a high risk at suicide, you have to modify, because you're not going to be able to necessarily just drive them up to Saskatoon to go get assessed at RUH in the Emerge there and be seen. So it's then talking to the person and seeing if you can decrease the potential. So if the person has said that, you know, my plan would be to use guns, they're talking to you, which is great. Are you able to go to their house? Are they going to agree with you? Can I contact your family so that we can get rid of the means? Take away the guns. And we still have to do work with them. But always, if you can decrease the means, are they willing to open up and have family to be a part of this conversation and action? And if they're not willing to have family members or other people involved, as health professionals, we don't have the right to let the family know. However, we do have a responsibility when there's a risk of safety to someone, that we would involve the RCMP. And also within the Mental Health Act, there are other actions that can come into place there. So it's always looking at what you have for resources, what you need to set up for a plan for treatment based on the risk, and what you have available. Okay. So looking at the larger picture, the majority of people with depression don't want to end their life. They are feeling so frustrated and so futile. We need to make connections with them. When identified, minor depressive episodes can be readily treated with available actions. And the majority of people are resilient. We can talk with them and help them to reconnect to life, because that's what it is reconnecting to life. And part of that is looking at resiliency factors. So checking in with that person and what is their sense of meaning, what is their purpose in life, what gives them hope. Aging is not for the weak. It is a challenge, and the person got to that point because they did have resiliency. They made it there because they did have significant coping. So finding ways to connect with that and honoring them for, you've done this, and helping to reconnect with their self-worth, very important things. So again, with resiliency factors, it's what does give you optimism? When did you have optimism in your life? What was happening? Are you connected with a religious practice? What engages your spirit, whether you belong to a church or not? What engages your spirit? Active social networks, support from family and friends. Sometimes it's really hard to reconnect with family and friends when you feel like why should I? Like, I have no worth. They're important things, so finding a way of just helping them to transition back. Good health practices are really important. So if a person has a chronic condition, getting that condition back in a maintenance phase is part of it, because that may be one of the biggest kickers for them. It's like, you know, my COP is never going to be controlled. It's like, well, find a way. How can we help you to figure out what your control is, because it's all individual. Resiliency factors are also positive help-seeking behaviors. So what did the person do before when they felt they were in crisis? Engagement in activities of personal interest. What brings you joy? Those are important things. So treatment basics, I can't say what brings you joy enough because it's key to our lives. Be physical and exercise. It impacts how you feel about yourself, and it helps you to maintain a healthy, both physically and mentally. The other word just left my head. Sorry about that. Walk outside in nature. Important to make connections. Connect with the people you love. Share yourself and accept support. So here we go back to feelings of self-esteem and self-worth. It's hard to put yourself out there. And it's really hard for some older adults it's hard for almost anyone to sometimes to accept support, to rely on someone. So it's being vulnerable. So treatment basics are eating well, relax, de-stress, evaluate substance use, maintain healthy sleeping patterns, be patient and kind to yourself. Yeah, can't have too much of that whole be patient and kind to yourself. So treatment overview for depression. Psychosocial interventions are the first line treatment for mild depression. And the last slide, the treatment basics, those are all psychosocial interventions. Medication is the last option for mild depression. Medication and psychosocial interventions are effective in moderate and severe depression. And it's important when starting any of the interventions to reassess weekly to evaluate the efficacy of the treatment. Involve the resources around you, work with the person. And I like to add in here, broken bones sometimes can heal faster than depression does. So it's be patient. One of the key aspects of working with anyone who has depression and any of our older adults is the communication. Communication is so crucial. We need to create rapport. We need to respect the dignity of the older adult. We have to validate their feelings. The worst thing you can say is to someone who has depression is buck up. You know, you're the one who gets to choose to be healthy or to be happy. It's like, no. They are having these feelings. We need to honor them, and they need help. We need to respond with respect and respond at their pace. A lot of older adults, when they're talking, they may reconnect with what their past was. It's not just a short, brief, I know you only have 5 minutes, and oh yeah, there was this, but they may forget about what it was they came in because there's all this other stuff happening, and oh, I'll get to that in my conversation. If we had time with them, they would get to their point, which I'm trying to get to too. Sorry. This is my first time doing this, and then it's like all the nerves and stuff like that, hey? So but it's important to be responding to pace with the older adult. Be in that moment. It's so hard to be in that moment when we've got so many other things that are happening around us. So with the older adult, in order for them to actually be a part of the rapport creating and trust you, you have to slow down and just be with them. So that's the trusting relationship, be in the moment. Larger picture, promote healthy aging. Healthy aging is so important. It will promote, it will prevent. We need to look at practice and policy, and I'm talking municipal, provincial, policy in our healthcare systems. We need to look at more promotion for healthy aging. promote living conditions and environments that support well-being and allow people to lead healthy and integrated lifestyles. Support strategies that ensure older adults have necessary resources to meet basic needs. Those are important things, and they have the potential to be a trigger for depression. So in summary, ageism is a barrier to care, and we need to be aware of that. Depression impacts self-esteem. Depression is not a normal part of aging, and depression is treatable. There are accessible tools to assess depression, and we need to take time for communication, promote support active aging, and connect with the joys of life. So I just want to go to, on the website for CDN, there are the PowerPoint presentations, and then there's also other resources. There's a wonderful tool, the geriatric assessment tool. It's a mood scale, and it's also in the public domain. So even as a family member, you could print this off and then pass it to your loved one. And it is, the long form is 15 questions. And they're yes and no. And then they also have a scale as part of that. And the questions are you basically satisfied with your life? Have you dropped many of your activities and interests? Do you feel life is empty? Do you often get bored? Are you in good spirits most of the time? Are you afraid that something bad is going to happen to you? Do you feel happy most of the time? And do you often feel helpless? Do you prefer to stay at home rather than going out and doing new things? And if you're an introvert like me, that's not really all that applicable. Do you feel you have more problems with memory than most? And do you think it is wonderful to be alive now? Do you feel pretty worthless the way you are now? Do you feel full of energy? Do you feel that your situation is hopeless? And do you think that most people are better off than you are? And with this tool, then they have the scale and scoring, and it's really interesting to have this tool available for family and also for healthcare providers, and then responding from that. So I just had to promo the tool. So that's my presentation, Jill.